Take the 6 biggest storylines of the day at Commanders Camp, break them down, let you hear from the participants, and off we go here on this Monday, which we're calling Day 6. Day 6 of training camp, although there's some debate about that because, it's kind of day 6, kind of day 5. It's the 5th practice. Most important thing is that the pads are on tomorrow. But the biggest talking point today was about the defensive ends, and that was in part because Montez Sweat spoke to the media. But Ron Rivera was also asked about talking to the defensive ends and the fact that all of them, and it goes, by the way, beyond Montez Sweat and Chase Young, but James Smith-Williams, Casey Tuhill as well, all in the final years of their contracts. So has Rivera had any conversations with them about that?
See, when those conversations, could occur. But right now, as we're still kind of feeling our way through, especially with new ownership, those are all conversations that, that are still a work in progress in terms of bringing them up to speed where we are, bringing them up to speed as to what our desires are going forward. That's probably the biggest thing that we still are working through. I mean, that will be one conversation after the other, everything from, meeting in person to phone calls, Zoom calls, just trying to, so they understand what our plan is going forward. And so we know what their feelings are on the subject. That's
a really nice, I don't want to call it excuse, but I don't have a better word for it. Really nice excuse for Rivera to have. Hey guys, sorry, new boss, he's got a lot to do. We can't really talk about your contract right now. And that's the worst feeling when you're a player or you're the person. I mean, I've obviously never been a player, but when you want to talk about your money and your boss is like, sorry, I got a lot of stuff going on. I know it's really important to you. I promise it's important to me, but not important to them. That's not exactly super fun to hear. So how has Montez Sweat handled it? Sweat, not one to really talk about his money, his contract a ton, but media assembled in Ashburn today tried.
It's not necessarily an uncertainty. It's going to happen at some point. You just keep your head down and work, and you listen to the guys, your peers around you. John and Duran, they give me nuggets and advice all the time on just keep on doing what you're doing, and everything will come to fruition.
That is something that's super important for athletes. I was having a conversation with someone who plays a sport. I'm not going to be super specific here, but this was a friend over the weekend who is a high-level athlete that I've gotten to know over the years, and they're going through a situation right now, and it's look, all you can do is be where your feet are. All these cliches, you can trust the process, you can do whatever, but it's the only way to survive in professional sports or in any highly competitive environment. Frankly, story time with Hoffman here, rewind to circa 2014, your boy was not having a good time down at ESPN Dallas. I started to slack off for sure because I felt I was underpaid, underutilized, the whole thing that athletes feel that so many of us have felt in jobs. It's not just athletes, it's not just radio people. You don't have to be related to sports at all. If you don't feel valued at work, then you know what this feels like. And I almost got my butt fired. And eventually I just was like, you want to know what? I'm going to focus on the process. I'm going to do my job every single day to the best of my abilities. And that's going to give me the peace of mind to be able to sleep at night and move forward. And ultimately what it did was made me better at the job. The only way to get the job you want is to do the job you have. And you eventually get rewarded. And I got the job to come up here to DC. That was my reward. Montez Sweat's eventually going to get a contract. We'll see what my other friend winds up having happen. But the worst thing that happens is you work hard, you get better, and you prepare when opportunity comes. And it seems like Sweat, and it seems like Chase, by the way, both have that mentality. I asked James Smith-Williams about this on Take Command over the summer. Same kind of thing. He's like, when it happens, it happens. All you can do is go out there and put your best foot forward. And it's not like you line up on 3rd and 10 and be like, I got to get a sack here so I can get paid. It's just not how it works. It's just extra motivation in the offseason to make sure you do the things. By now, that hay is in the barn. They've done that work. And so, Rivera and them, if they want to get something done, I'm pretty sure they can go to Josh Harris and be like, hey, we really think Cam Curl or Montez Sweat or Chase Young or whoever deserves a contract. We feel very strongly about it. are we good here? And I'm pretty sure Josh Harrison then would sign off on it. Unless they have taken a full, we're going to wait till the end of the season approach on everything, which I guess is possible. I don't know. It just seems like they've been open to doing smart things, and signing up Montez Sweat long-term seems like a probable smart thing. So, for Sweat and Young and Smith-Williams and Tuhill and Cam Curl and the other players who are, on expiring contracts, whether you get it here or you get it somewhere else, the best thing you can do is play well. And I don't anticipate this being a major talking point all season, but it is the kind of time of year, I guess, when these things tend to get done. So certainly everyone's going to get asked as they step to the podium for the first time. Position battle. Are we going to have one at left guard? I think it's starting to happen. Chris Paul's shown some flashes, shown some of that special ability that a lot of people talked about, while Sadiq Charles has had a very mixed bag. He's gotten better, so I don't want to say like he had a rough couple of days. He's whatever. Like, yeah, he's going against John Allen. Of course he's losing a lot. John Allen's awesome, and Sadiq is inexperienced, but he's gotten better. Logan and I talked about it extensively on Take Command, but I did ask Logan, like, hey, you think that we're getting in a position battle here? Chris Paul, you think you could push him? And Logan said, yeah, I really think that he can. So what has Ron Rivera seen from Chris Paul, who worked with the starters for a little bit today?
Working with the twos.
Who he gets to work against. I mean, just having him get the opportunity to work against Jonathan, work against Duran, that's important in his growth and development as a football player for us. He's one of the young guys, coupled with Sam and Sadiq, that we're going to count on to be part of that interior for us. And so we want to make sure he gets some work with the ones. It was one of the things that we do. We do it consciously. We did it, we've done it every year that we've been together. And so we'll continue to do that, where specific guys that we know are going to get opportunities to play or that may have to play, we've got to get them work now. And we're going to mix a few more guys in the next few days as well.
There's certain positions where cross-training is really important. Offensive line is probably top of that list. It's really important that you have guys that can play multiple positions, that you have guys that can move around and understand how to play next to different players, because there's just a lot of injuries that happen at offensive line. It is such a physical position with such big, strong men running into other big, strong men, and thus you see those big, strong men go down. And so it's imperative that if Sam Cosmi is out, or if Sadiq Charles is out, even if those guys are playing well, that Charles Leno and Nick Gates and Andrew Wiley have reps next to a Chris Paul, that you get Cornelius Lucas reps at left tackle and right tackle with the ones. And it's 1 or 2 reps off. It's not going to hurt your starters too much, but it is going to go a long way to the backups understanding how to communicate with those players. They have those live reps. And I think the biggest thing, one of the themes that has emerged is the number one offense has really struggled at times with this number one defense because they are so on the screws right now. They are doing such a good job, and the play speed is so fast. And so if you can get a guy like Chris Paul, who is supremely talented, reps at that one level game speed, with all due respect to Big Phil, who's having a really nice camp, and John Ridgway, who's a really good player, it's not the same as Daron Payne and John Allen, who are all pros. That is a different speed. So whether it becomes, this is actually a low-key position battle with Sadiq Charles and Chris Paul, and they're splitting reps because they're in a battle for the starting left guard spot, or it's just preparing Paul to be the best backup that he possibly can be, it is good process by Rivera, Juan Castillo, Travell Wharton, and everybody else involved, Eric Bieniemy, in that decision to cross-train. And as Rivera said, it's something they've done for a long time, and they will continue to do it. But I do think that is one to watch out in terms of a position battle. Rivera was asked about what surprised him so far in camp. Gave a very long answer. He was the tail end of it on kind of a team approach overall. This is our pick 6 at 6 most interesting things from training camp on this Monday.
The whole team aspect of it. Our defensive guys know our offensive guys are going through a lot right now. They're trying to learn and adapt to a new system and style. And you see these guys talking to each other. You see the defensive guys explaining certain things to our offensive guys when something happens in practice. You hear them out, when they're inside, talk about those things offensively and defensively together. Like I said, there is some maturity out here, and I'm really excited about that, because I think that's all part of the growth process that we've had to go through and what's going to be our fourth season now, is that we've got to take steps. We've got to take certain kinds of steps, and maturity has always been one of the things that I did talk about, and I do think is important for our guys.
That's something Rivera's brought up a lot, in part because he's been asked about it, the maturity aspect for his team, because last year that was his whole thing. Defense immature. They made a bunch of mistakes in 2021. What are they going to do in 2022? They start the season poorly, still kind of rushing as individuals or freelancing here, not understanding there. And so the maturity aspect is huge, and it's just kind of an adult approach. And the other thing I think is they're just not making a ton of mistakes, right? Like, guys are going to win or lose based off execution, and that's fine. What you want to avoid early in camp especially is a ton of mental mistakes where you're not getting lined up right. You false start. You're just out of it. And it's hard because it's a hot, and it's like you're not in your peak physical condition yet. You're not used to hitting guys and practicing for 2 hours. Like, it's a different tempo, different speed. The adrenaline's running, which always makes you run a little hot, and the mental fatigue sets in. And they've done a really good job as a team this year of being together, not making mistakes, and then you see kind of that maturity extend to, hey, I'm a defensive lineman, I beat the offensive lineman on this rep. I'm going to tell him how, so that he understands how, when we go against another team, to defend that kind of thing. Or, hey, I was trying to hit you with this on this route. This is the kind of thing that you watch for against this route combination. We hate it when defenses do this, so that they know when they go against the Giants, the Eagles, the Cowboys, and obviously the Cardinals week 1 on down the list. Hey, there's that route combination. I remember this from training camp. I know I got to be here at this time. That's good stuff. You want that healthy competition, but you always got to remember, and it's hard because you start running into each other. Obviously, the pads go on tomorrow. You start to forget that you're actually on the same team. The camaraderie seems great. The energy feels great. The culture is damn good, you might even say. It's the Hoffman Show, Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Terry McLaurin also spoke today. We got 2 more things here. Our pick 6 at 6. Sorry, 3 more on our pick 6 at 6. Obviously, the offensive install ongoing with Eric Bieniemy. How does Terry McLaurin feel about it?
I think we're making some growth steps. I feel like Saturday we had some little things to clean up, taking care of the ball and depths of routes and just the nuances of the offense. But I don't think guys are having a lot of MAs, which is really good. Means guys are doing the studying at night.
Real quick, MAs means missed assignments.
We're taking what we're learning in the installs to the field. So it's just the little details, which is why training camp's for, so we can iron those things out before we start playing games. But so far, I like the tempo which we're going with and the attitude that we're approaching practice. So that's a good foundation to start with.
The thing is about going out there, the kind of funny part is you don't have a choice playing for Eric Bieniemy. If you're not playing or practicing, at his tempo, it's going to let you know. Get on the ball. Get off the field. I mean, how many times have we heard, if you've been out there as a fan or maybe you've heard reporters talk about this, I'll say it again now. So many times. And I was only there for 2 of the days. Bieniemy, get off the field. No jogging, or no walking, I should say. You can jog off the field, but you better get going so the next group can go. And it's an efficiency thing as well. Like, they run a ton of plays in what is a 2-hour practice. Like, you're limited how long you're allowed to be on the field by the NFL and the NFLPA. So you better be efficient with the work that you get. One, it's good for conditioning. It'll help you, be better in games when you get into the fourth quarter. Because remember, these games are long. We dedicate 3 hours sitting on the couch on a Saturday. They're out there running around for 3 hours. And that's after running around for an hour in warm-ups. Like, it's a long, strenuous day for an NFL game, and making sure that you're actually mentally prepared for that is a huge thing. And Bieniemy makes it practice a certain level of difficult that prepares you for that, but also gets you used to playing fast and thinking fast and doing everything so that when you get in the game and there are more of those breaks between plays, play clocks winding, all that kind of stuff, you obviously get rest while the defense is on the field. It is a thing that you're ready for by the time the season rolls around. And the details, if that's what you're working on, perfect. If you're working on, hey, nobody can line up correctly and we got a bunch of false starts, that's an issue. And this offense hasn't had that so far. Ron actually commented on that as well today. He said he was very, very pleased with how much Bieniemy has given the offense, yet how few missed assignments there have been. As for the relationship between Howell and McLaurin, and specifically how Howell has handled himself, here's the Commanders' star wide receiver, number 5 on our pick 6 at 6.
Yeah, to be honest, you really don't even see him get flustered. Even when he's had a few maybe rough patches during practice, he doesn't hang his head. He's not yelling, cussing, things like that. He stays pretty even keel, which is really unique for a young guy like that. And not only that, I think that struck me in the Dallas game because we had a turnover, but he still wasn't afraid to push the ball down the field. And I think with this being a passing league, you still got to stay aggressive. It's really cool to see a young guy who's not afraid to continue to give his guys catches or guys opportunities down the field. Because at the end of the day, our receivers and our group are going to have to fight through some adversity. The defense are going to make plays across the season, but the last thing we do is get down on each other. I think EB echoes that a lot, like staying consistent in what we do. And I think that starts with the quarterback, and so far he's done a really good job. And I know he still has time to grow, but that comes with us rallying around him and doing our jobs to make his job easier.
I said it last year after the Dallas game, like the most impressive thing in that Dallas game was him in the locker room after. The throws were nice, but his demeanor, and even in the game, right? He throws the interception, he comes back, and he's like, whatever. Like, let's go back and play. That is an impossibly important thing that quarterbacks have in the NFL is the ability to just keep going, to not give up, to not get down, to not change your process, to not change your demeanor, to not lose your confidence. And that's going to allow you to go out and perform to the best of your abilities. And Howell has that trait. It is one of the things that makes me really high on him. I got questions about the processing speed because he just hasn't shown it yet. Obviously outside of that Dallas game, but he hasn't been like super on top of it yet in training camp. But we're a couple days in, haven't even put the pads on yet, which will help the offensive line when they do get on. So I think tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, big days for Sam Howell. Anthony and I will be out there tomorrow and Wednesday to take it in person. So obviously we will share our observations. Do not want to miss that here on the Hoffman Show. Last but not least, off the field story that we're monitoring from training camp. Jamin Davis missed the day as he was in court. Davis, reckless driving, his second offense in Virginia, and Virginia's driving laws are very, very strict, and he could be facing jail time. The reckless driving charge he picked up, he was going well over 100 miles an hour in a 45 mile per hour zone, is something that comes with up to a year in prison. Now, that doesn't mean you have to spend a year in prison, but it is a possible sentence. And Davis had actually agreed to a plea deal that was going to involve 8 days total of incarceration. Well, that plea deal was rejected by the judge that heard it. So he has now got another hearing, I believe it's later this week, to sort out what ultimately he's going to do, whether he's going to have to go to jail for some time. Would that be during the season? Could that be deferred to the offseason? Is he going to be able to get to a deal where he pays a larger fine and not have to go to jail at all? But it is not a good situation. And I will say, considering I talked to DeShazer Everett last week about driving and obviously the absolute tragedy that happened with Shays, where he lost his girlfriend in that terrible, terrible accident where he was going just 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. One of the people in the car behind him was Jamin Davis. Jamin is, from everything I know about him, is a great kid, super sweet guy. I've yet to hear anything bad about him as a person, but the judgment here is just terrible. And he should know better. He understands the consequences and how dangerous it could be. And this happened well after that accident that DeShazer was in. And I just can't imagine after witnessing that being that reckless. And that doesn't necessarily mean I think he should go to jail. Like, is he going to learn by going to jail? I don't know. That gets into a whole different conversation about kind of the entire criminal system that we have here in America. I'm not going down that rabbit hole today. But certainly, like, something needs to be done here. He needs to never, ever, ever consider doing anything remotely that stupid and dangerous again. And if he has to suffer consequences of some kind, like, actions have consequences, and hope whatever those consequences are for him, help him learn the lesson. And I'm glad that those consequences aren't that he wrecked, and we're talking about a very different story. But in terms of the short term, It is something the Commanders have to monitor. And by the way, this is a guy that missed time in the spring as he was recovering from knee surgery and is kind of behind. So him missing practice is less than ideal. This is a guy that I anticipated having a big season, but the longer and longer it goes until he's showing, hey, I'm a number one potentially star linebacker in training camp, the more nervous I get about the positive predictions for Jamin Davis. That is our pick 6 at 6 here on the Hoffman Show. 6 biggest stories from training camp every day at 6 p.m. If you miss it, we do put it out as a podcast on its own in the Hoffman Show feed. And of course, it'll be online in just a little bit on YouTube at youtube.com/@CraigHoff. Thanks for watching this clip of our 2023 Washington Commanders training camp coverage. For more, check out the radio show live daily from 4 to 7 p.m. on the Team 980. We also stream live on the free Odyssey app, or you can watch the show here on YouTube at the Team 980. Subscribe right here for all our on-demand content. Click the button. Go now. Subscribe. And come on, while you're at it, let's be honest. If you made it this far, you probably liked what you saw. So go ahead and hit that like button too before another video starts. It's the polite thing to do.